7:01. Let's call to order the November 1st, 2023 Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. Dakota, would you take roll for us, please?
Of course. Committee Member Knight.
Hello, I'm here.
Committee Member Harrington.
Present.
Committee Member Kester.
Kester.
I'm sorry, I'll get that right.
Yeah, nobody gets it right the first time. Yes, I'm here.
Committee Member Minkoff.
Here.
Committee Member Abling.
She is excused today.
Committee Member Barney.
Here.
Committee Member Rizzo.
Here.
Committee Member Stephenson.
Here.
Committee Member Castillo. Committee Member Terrell.
Here.
And Chair Reynolds.
Here.
All right.
All right. Moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. Paul, welcome. Here for agenda items, right? And no public on Zoom? All right. All right, discussion items, Citizens Advisory Committee's role, and Paul Wilcox's public comment. Paul, would you like to contribute first, after, or during?
Choose a committee role first.
Okay. So with your packets, you should have received the description of Citizens Advisory and the committee's role, not just for Multnomah County, but for Troutdale. Did everybody have time to review that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So, Ray, as we know, Ray Young could not be here with us. He did say he could be here in December. However, I'd like to address that at a later time. Does anybody have anything to comment on with respect to the descriptions that were provided in the packet?
I'm looking for my soft copy of the packet right now, so.
I have an extra if you'd like. Yep, I do have extras if anybody would like one.
Great, thank you.
Well, may I comment?
Of course, Kevin.
The question we were trying to answer last time, or hoping to get an answer to, was what the role of the Citizens Advisory Committee is vis-a-vis representing citizen interest versus strictly taking on the tasks provided by City Council. And I don't see anything that specifically addresses that unless I missed something. It says, it goes on to discuss how the Citizens Advisory Committee is very important for citizens to feel that they are involved, to make citizens aware. I'm paraphrasing, but I don't see anything that specifically addresses what we were trying to answer last time. Did you, Shelley, get an answer, seek, present that question to city council and get that answered?
I did not present it to city council. I did mention it to Ray Young, the city manager. It is indeed a one-way street. But he says there are always, when you're talking about things like that, there's always room for discussion, which is why he was invited to attend a committee meeting. And he can't be here this month. So we can't really discuss that with him this month. I also would like to bring folks' attention to the primary role has to do with land use, planning commission. And I really feel like this particular committee, at least since I've been a member, has ventured far outside that role.
Right.
So I would like to see as a goal in the coming year to discuss and potentially redefine Citizens Advisory Committee's role as it pertains to city council. Go ahead.
So this is Adrian. So I think the key point that probably within the role within that chapter 2.20 that we probably need to look at, because you're right, Shelley. I mean, the number, through all the meetings that I've listened in, even prior to joining the committee, the quantity of land use things that go in front of this group is probably
not one since I've been a member.
Near enough to zero to make no odds of it.
Yeah.
But just because most things that that are planning commission things that would require advice are something specific to either historical landmarks or TCAB, that they're specified to those groups rather than CAC in general. But I think that the thing that probably would require very little tweaking to get where we want to be is point 5 in that list of the role of the CAC, particularly that sentence in the middle that says, in this regard, the CAC operates to provide policy guidance to council on matters of public interest and to act as a liaison between neighborhoods and interest groups to the city's elected and appointed officials. Now, the sentences that bracket that statement is what turns this into, as it stands now in code, a one-way street. But
I agree.
It would not take very much language tweaking to basically move that into something in the direction that we want to go.
Well, may I comment on that?
Sure.
Of course.
This is Kevin Minkoff. I take I don't know what the word is. I lost it. But I object, or I would counter that comment by saying, I don't believe it's up to us to determine what our direction is. That was the whole point of approaching city council and getting that answer. If we are indeed to strictly adhere and take up issues presented to us by city council, and that's it, then that is our direction, not something that we can morph into and create some other kind of committee with other agenda items. That's the way I see it, based on this language.
Yeah, and I suspect what the direction that you're going to go, but just to be real quick, the way that it has always been presented to me, and I think others from Ray Young and from city councilors, is that whatever, the spirit of city council is that things get brought to them in a whole host of different ways. And whether the exact letter of the role of the CAC, I mean, it is what it is, it's right in front of us, but there's nothing stopping us, never has been, from addressing things to city council. The only question that really needs to be dealt with is what weight that carries and an exact mechanism. And of the two of those, I think the former is more important, because the exact mechanism, we're not that big of a city, and we all work together. A lot of us are on more than one committee. Most of us listen to city council. The councilors do listen to us to more or less of an extent, depending on which committee we're on. But the exact mechanism, I don't see as being particularly important to quibble over. Others may disagree, but.
Well,
Yes, this is Twyla. I just want to share that in my last couple of years on this committee, I think we've, looking at the scope of what the role says here, frequently been given to discuss things that are outside of this realm. So I feel like we're been operating kind of in a different rule category. And so I wonder if we were strictly following this and only doing what city council brought us, if we would have meetings, because I don't feel like we've really addressed anything on this. And so I do think it would be good to clarify, because I think in years past, we've also discussed that we have sometimes really great discussions here, and how it would be nice to have a mechanism to share some of that information with the council without us then just having to all go to the council again. So have some mechanism of feedback between the two. So I think it would be good, because I think typically in December, we usually take that off, but maybe in January, if we could talk to Ray about what that might look like, because operating by the
it's
rules
fairly
here,
narrow.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'd have anything to talk about.
The primary concern that I have is that, without putting words in city council's mouth, of course, city council wants citizens to bring things to them, not to us, right? The problem is people do bring things to us. Paul's a perfect example. People bring things to us, and we don't really have an avenue to bring that back up to city council, and that's the avenue I think we need to create within this ordinance.
Yeah, I mean, just one last comment, and then I'll shut up on the subject. But in practice, I don't see that there's anything stopping us as a committee and coming to some sort of consensus and saying, a representative going to the next city council meeting and during the time of public comment saying, here representing Citizens Advisory Committee, this was brought up to us. Now, city council would be entirely within their rights to basically say, okay, and essentially tell us to go fly a kite. If we had, we could do that today. There's nothing stopping us. If the defined mechanism were there, the only change would be is it would make some level of tracking and accountability adding to that mechanism. But the mechanism itself is there.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I mean, I think that we can do that, but I think by doing that, we are going directly against the city ordinance of how this committee is defined. And if we are able to change the definition and create that avenue, then I certainly would feel more comfortable going to city council as a committee representative and saying, but if you were to ask me to do that now, I would decline.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure I would feel comfortable doing that,
No,
just because I
that's-
don't think city council is expecting that from us.
That's fair.
And that's precisely, this is Kevin Minkoff, and that's precisely what I'm talking about. Everything I'm talking about is we need that definition.
Exactly.
Well,
And I would be in favor of working to establish a two-way communication avenue. That is, we respond to city council's requests for deliberation and opinion, and to also consider citizens' requests of us that we can then bring to city council. Absolutely. But as I see it right now, we don't have that.
Will, you want to throw something in there? I see you wanting to talk.
Oh, first I want to apologize. I'm having something weird going on with my internet connection. I keep going from like 300 download to like 40. And so right now I see my screen is paused. I don't even know if you guys can hear me or not.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, cool. No, I love it. I think after Kevin had a chance to respond and state his idea, I think we're kind of all on the same page. We kind of do want to have that back and forth, and I'm all up for that. I think it's better, you know, if we right now see that we like this function and we like to be able.
We lost you.
Now we lost you.
This would be really easy to change.
Mhm.
We just have to have their approval.
You know, all that sort of stuff. And so I would imagine it's about time to update it. So I'm all on board for adding that to the agenda in the future.
Thank you. Chris?
So I guess I just wanted to ask for, I suppose, clarification. Whoa. Oh, there we go. So I was looking again at the handouts we were given, and the sheet we were given about the role of our committee comes from the municipal code. So I feel like if we want to effect a change, we would have to probably go to the council, because if it's in the code, I suspect changing it requires either an action of the council or for it to be a ballot item in a future election.
Correct. That's correct.
It is, Victoria Rizzo, it is funny, in the past, we've taken things to council, different councils, like the garden, the community garden. That was all of us, and that's not us here at all.
Mhm.
And you on the committee then? No? Yeah, that was totally us that we took to the council.
Mhm.
So, and it just depends who the council is too.
Mhm.
But this would be so easy if they would change it. And it wouldn't even take them 5 minutes to approve it. And I just put, I had it in my head, now it's gone, about how that in regard statement, that's part of it, that we are allowed to take it, you know. It says we're allowed to take it. But, yeah, that doesn't make sense. You're allowed to bring up neighborhood problems, but only report on recommendations that were issued by the council. So they just need to change that part.
Mhm.
Woodrow Drill, do we know where this came from? I mean, was there a precedent of maybe the state has requirements of a citizens advisory committee?
The county does.
The Multnomah County has the requirement?
Mhm.
So did the city copy and paste it from their requirements, or?
It could be. I think the Multnomah County description was also in our packet, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I think we're all in agreement that we feel like the scope of the committee
It's a state requirement. I just found the site.
isn't great. That the scope of the committee is fairly narrow at this point. And if we were to adhere to the municipal code as it's written, we would probably be meeting once a quarter instead of once a month. Because I can't remember the last time city council actually assigned something to us. Was it the rooster chicken thing? Was that the last thing they assigned to us?
Might have been.
Paul, do you know, was that the last assigned task to us?
When we had to go over transportation and all that. So.
Yeah, we did the TSP. That was land use.
This is Chris. The last thing I remember doing that was actually assigned by council, and there may have been a future thing I forgot about, but the last one I remember was when we had to go over some people had an interest in changing the way in which we elect our councilors in election seasons.
That was not assigned to us by city council.
Well, but I remember we gave them a recommendation, although they ignored us basically.
Oh, I think the chicken one was after that. The transportation plan was, I think you're right. I think the transportation plan was the last thing assigned to us.
Didn't we go over the development code too?
I don't think so.
I thought that was after transportation.
Was it?
I have another question.
Yep, go ahead, Kevin.
It's not about chickens.
That was my favorite discussion.
I am curious though.
I am looking at the role of the CAC, item number 3. It states the CAC may periodically review and advise the Planning Commission and City Council on the Citizen Involvement Program. What is the Citizen Involvement Program?
That's a good question. Is it this committee?
I don't think so.
I think that they set it up above, identified the CCI. Let's see.
The basic standard for citizen involvement in Oregon is the statewide planning goal number 1, citizen involvement. The Citizens Advisory Committee is a part of the citizen involvement program.
Okay.
Citizen involvement. Well, because that kind of breaches the gap. I shouldn't say breaches, bridges the gap to the goal that I think we are trying to accomplish. How are citizens involved if not able to provide input? And if the CAC is responsible for that, then doesn't that mean that citizens can then bring issues and become involved, such as Paul Wilcox, and making presentations to the CAC? How otherwise are citizens involved?
So the second paragraph on the first page that I'm looking at here, goal 1, the City of Troutdale's comprehensive land use plan affirms that a major component of the City of Troutdale's citizen involvement program is the Citizens Advisory Committee, CAC. CAC members not only represent the interests of their particular neighborhood, some members are selected on the basis of their ties to business, environmental resource organizations, or other community service interests. The CAC reviews the comprehensive land use plan content and implementation measures and participates in the periodic review process. CAC members monitor neighborhood development to ensure conformance to plan policies and guidelines.
I see. So in other words, we represent citizen involvement.
Yes, although the other thing that I see is that combine that paragraph with point 3 that you just mentioned as far as the role of the CAC. I mean, that is our vehicle to take to the city council any changes in our mandate. We are the citizen involvement program as far as the city of Troutdale is concerned, and the way I'm reading this. And thus, we have, as part of our role, the ability to take to city council a review of that program, which is essentially our committee mandate.
And ask for changes.
And ask for changes.
Right.
And so that in and of itself, I think is the vehicle to get the changes that we would, or at least to, if nothing else, open up the discussion with city council on changes to the development code to get our mandate and our role more matching what A, we actually seem to be doing, and B, where we would kind of like to be as far as the back and forth nature of council to CAC communications.
Right. All right. Any other questions or comments? So I think the next step, if I'm not mistaken, will be to invite Ray Young to a committee meeting, discuss our proposed changes to the program, to the committee, and then work over the next maybe couple meetings to prepare a proposal to city council for their consideration for the changes. Does that sound
Agreed.
reasonable?
So
Yes.
do we want to have the proposal, we want to work on the proposal before we talk to Ray, or we want to talk to Ray before?
No, let's talk to Ray before. The only reason I say that is because Ray may have a better insight as to what the committee or what the city council's willing to look for.
Because there may very well be that between Ray Young's understanding of what our job is and what his understanding of what city council's understanding of what our job is may already mostly align with what we're thinking, and then this is just a matter of updating the text to match what everybody thinks is supposed to be happening.
Bullet 3 on this first page, where it talks about the costs of providing public information, I don't think I remember anyone talking about that.
There's a lot of things in here that just don't line up, and I think that's what we're trying to resolve.
Okay.
Will, did you have something you wanted to throw in there?
Yeah, I guess it was more just, I guess, along that line. I would love to have any help from outside, experts that might help us craft the language more well or better.
We're losing your audio, Will.
Yeah.
It happens every night around this time.
Does it?
It's frustrating. It's, I think, like a update to the.
You guys still hear me?
We can't hear.
Okay, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm having horrible internet connection issues tonight. I guess what I was saying is any experts that we can invite in to help us better word and more legally, I guess, word our ideas that we have about how we want to reflect our actual role with versus what is written, I'd like to help with. But again, any help with that would be.
I agree, Will.
So to that end, do we need to invite both Ray and Ed? Or do we just need to start with Ray at this point?
I would suggest us to start with Ray.
Okay, that makes sense to me, but I just thought I'd ask.
I just have a question. So have we, in the whole time anybody's been involved, we really have never looked at what's been defined by the city or whatever, so it's only because this came up.
No, we've looked at this a lot.
Oh, okay, so we have looked at this, but we just have never found around to update, so it's,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's really needed to be done.
Yeah.
So,
It seems overdue.
yeah. So we feel like we have our say.
Is that a reasonable goal for the next few months, folks?
Yes.
Updating our code to include a wider or a broader view for this committee?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I think the one thing we need to really consider is not discouraging folks to take it to city council and bring it to us instead. We really want to encourage people, if they have something that affects the city and they have concerns, that they take it to city council first.
Well, anywhere.
Yeah,
The city will reroute it to where it needs to go.
Exactly.
yeah. And that's sort of the nature of the two-way street there. Depending on, because for all we know, I know particular citizens' availability, they might not be able to come talk to us. City council meets more often than we do. So, city council might be more convenient. So, but it should be more of a web of communication than just sort of distinct travel paths.
And I think a lot of the communication I have with is my community neighbors, and some of them are not comfortable, speaking. Right. And so having, I think, the different avenues would be important so people can reach out if they're more comfortable to a committee member.
But don't forget, they can email and write if they're not comfortable.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
true. All right, are we done with this conversation for now?
For now.
I think that kind of actually has me jumping ahead just a little bit to, originally Ray was invited to the first meeting in December. And I would like folks to think about that, and at the end of this, I'd like us to decide whether or not we want to push that off to January and cancel the December meeting. So be thinking about that, because I'm going to ask that question at the end. All right? All right, Paul, you're up. Welcome, Mr. Wilcox. It's good to see you in person.
Since I was on the agenda, Daniel Troutdale.
I'm sorry?
It's coming on my hand. First, on the previous discussion, I agree with Adrian that item number 5 is your way in the two-way street going. I'm not sure when they're going to go to council and council kick it off to you guys, because a lot of people don't want to do it. Just want to mention, Chris was correct that top 3 was assigned to you by council.
Yes, top 3 was.
This was council stipends.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that one. Council stipends. Yeah.
Neither one of those has absolutely anything to do with land use.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'll kind of pick off to you guys whatever they want. Or they all deal with on their own. Back to the agenda item. Last week I reviewed the April meeting. This was when we first discussed my issue that I brought for you, 2 emails prior to that. And in that meeting, I heard Diane White say she'd been attending council meetings for 15 years. And this issue had never been brought up regarding how council vacancies are filled. So we went back, way back into where the,
I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing Paul.
oh, sure, try to speak up.
Is it, Paul, is your mic hot there?
Whatever that means.
I think those show green if they're live.
No, nope, they're red.
No, these are red.
Okay.
These are red.
Let's get
Gotcha.
closer. Where was I? Okay, well, we have to go back. One of the issues I had was that the current charter requires that vacancies, mayoral vacancy requires going to election, the councilor vacancy requires appointment. And that goes back to the 94 charter was created. There's a Belgium here. Provide some history that some of you might not be aware of. In 92, mayor was elected. In mid-April of 93, that mayor resigned. 3.5 months into his term. So that created a mayoral vacancy. Under the charter at that time, which was the 1942 charter, read vacancies filled by appointment, no matter the length of the term. If that had been a councilor resigned 3.5 months into his term, he would have had a appointee serve 3 3/4 years. That's the way the previous charter read. So that kind of shook them up a bit because they didn't want somebody, an appointee, serving 4 years. So one of the changes with the new charter is they went to a 4-year term for mayor. So they definitely didn't want a 4-year appointee for mayor. So that's what motivated the idea of requiring a mayoral vacancy and go to election. At the time, the council was extremely divided on that particular issue. The way it came from the appointed mayor saw there were big issues with that whole appointment idea. So he immediately decided they needed a charter review committee. So it was one of the switch priorities, the appointed mayor. So eventually they got that going. It took until November when we actually convened that charter review committee. They spent 8 months in 94 meeting, came up with the current charter, which you have now, the 94 charter. In that charter, the council had some problems with it. It was interesting, even the idea of a elected mayoral vacancy actually split 3-3. 3 of them left as only appointing councilor vacancies or mayoral vacancies. The other 3 wanted to keep the recommendation of elected mayoral vacancies. So at the time, the mayor, they voted when it was tie votes. So he was actually the one that decided that it would remain as presented by the charter review committee, requiring vote to go up the mayoral vacancy. unanimous support by any nation. Anyway, it's kind of some history behind how they ended up with that requirement. It's almost like that's the big news of the day. The investor in the county elections office to figure out what a special election costs. Actually, heard back from them yesterday. And I specifically asked what it would cost if Troutdale put a councilor position on this past May's ballot. And the figure I was provided by county elections was under $2,000. So I think that's pretty reasonable considering they spent $15,000 on their fuel tax major in the November election, had a 26% voter turnout. So I think that's usually what I have. I didn't have a lot to add what I shared already. I do plan to go to council, I have a slot on the council agenda next meeting, 14th of this month. I can't see that there's enough time for this body to get involved in addressing an issue. Because the charter language has to be in the county office by March 1st. I just don't see meeting time being available. So I'm going to be taking it up with the council directly.
Okay.
Any questions on any of that?
Ms. Woodrow?
So you said it was under $2,000. What does that cost for? I mean, is that postage cost? What is that?
I don't really know.
I think part of it was printing it in the pamphlet and.
For some reason, the county only puts the bill for general elections, primaries and May primary and November general.
So it's $2,000 to print out pamphlets and mail to 15,000 residents. That doesn't pass the sniff test. Postage is at least what, 30 some odd cents?
Not when you're doing bulk rate pre-sort, right? It can be quite a
And you
bit
have
less.
labor.
Yeah, so they're not paying anyone to do that, and then the printer isn't gonna do the pamphlets for pennies. No, this is not.
It's not as straightforward as that, because I mentioned the other measure, the gas tax measure, costs the city $15,000. Depends how many other jurisdictions have things on the ballot.
They just divide it up, right? But if we're doing a standalone council election.
Maybe there's a flat dollar amount that you need to put in the election period. And that dollar amount is distributed among everybody that's on the ballot.
If it's under $2,000, then let's have all sorts of elections.
I would suspect that if a city council special election was the only thing that was involved in that election cycle, the cost would be probably quite a bit higher. But if it were just one thing amongst many others, costs go down because the county only has to print ballots once. You know, unless it's like a huge general election cycle where the ballot is 8 pages long. But you get the point.
I looked at the history of May, odd year May elections, and there are quite a few jurisdictions on that ballot.
Yeah.
The level of school districts, school elections.
Right. The school bond measures are good for the following year are gonna commonly come up in the May ballot. So I think it's probably better than even odds that it wouldn't be terribly expensive, but there would be no way to guarantee that.
I was just, but Shelby Stephenson, I was just gonna say, but like, for example, right now, look at, I don't even have anything to vote on, so if it fell on a November election. Oh, it would, if it was to happen like this year, like if the vacancy had happened and we were putting on the ballot in November, because I think, didn't I read it would be a May or a November ballot, you would put this electing a counselor on. Well, it seems like, it could be very costly, because this one right example, there's nothing we're voting on this year. So it's hard to say. It's
Yeah.
really very unpredictable, but
We wouldn't do it on a May, on a-
November. But if you were to be, if you had a vacancy and then you were going to fill it,
We'd have to wait till the following May.
oh, we're always looking at May. I thought I read when West Lynn did it, they did it either May or November. So I thought that's
Well,
what
they're
we
a different county. Blackbird, Multnomah County says they don't do candidates in November onwards.
I thought the proposal we
No,
were
it's
moving
not.
forward was following West Lynn.
West Lynn is Clackamas County.
I know, but I thought the example we had been given stuff for was for West Lynn. So then I thought that they talked about it would be both.
Well, that's the way they did it.
Okay, well, so I didn't know that ours was,
We work for them, their county.
okay, so in Multnomah County, you can only do it, if we were to have a vacancy, then it would have to be for a May election. Okay,
My whole thing though is the ones vacancies that are created as a result of election results. So, you have an election in November, somebody leaves their seat to go to someone else. So you have January, that seat is vacant. So you've got until May to fill that in May, rather than appointing someone in February or March for a 2-year term.
I thought that it said in West Lynn's though, they appoint, and then there's an election, so they're just an interim one, but they are appointed until the election can happen.
Be an interim,
Yeah, so it's an interim, but they do have somebody there, so they appoint someone.
Yeah, I guess, and that was gonna be my question, is even if you had, like, say, a vacancy in January and an election in May, would you want that council seat to be vacant for those 4 months? Or would you want the appointment mechanism for that short term to remain in place? I know, but from what you'd said before, we had vacancy, city council vacancies for longer than 4 months, if I remember correctly. But, I mean, is that necessarily desirable?
Okay, well, there's a section in the charter that it's up toward the top somewhere that specifically says council can be short members.
Right.
It's not mandatory that there be 7 members. So we could go either way with that, or they could be written into the charter that the interim person is necessary, or it's not necessary.
All right. I look forward to hearing what the city council has to say. If you want to report back after your meeting with them, I'll probably try to be there for you, Paul. just as moral support, if nothing else. Any other final questions for Paul before we move on? All right. Staff communications, Dakota, you're up.
Thank you very much. This is a very quick staff communications. I'll pull up my slides here. So staff communications for this month. Quick update on Main Streets on Halsey. Planning Commission held a work session regarding the Main Streets on Halsey project. Just to basically, it was more of an update or a summary. Main Streets on Halsey has been finished, but as a city, we still need to have a vote, a hearing by Planning Commission on those proposed amendments in order to close out the grant. So that was kind of a work session to discuss them and see if there's any other comments, concerns that the planning commission had. And now those amendments will go for a vote to the planning commission at the next planning commission meeting, which is, that's the wrong date, November 8th. This may change this date. I'm still working on that, as Paul probably knows. He has not gotten his staff report yet for those. That's because there was some last minute tweaks, so we may push that meeting. I need to figure that out as of tomorrow. If not, then we'll be sending out the packet. So that's why you haven't received yet. Sorry about that. There is some last minute stuff that we're trying to figure out as far as how do we as a city bring it forward. And so what are the requirements by the city grant to make sure that the grant is complete from on the side of the from what Metro needs from us. And then next is Fox Ridge Apartments. This is on there just because I had some questions of how those apartments on the frontage of Halsey were 4 stories. Paul was very generous to supply us with some findings from that planning commission hearing. For those of you who don't have any, I know we sent them out later on. I have some extras here if anyone wants to look at them. They're findings from the staff report, and it explains that those bank of apartments that are right on Halsey received a variance due to the topography of the height or of the site. So that's why they were able to be 4 stories in order to have a cohesive look, where the other apartments are 3 stories, the back section. But since it's on a slope, they received a variance for that. So I just wanted to bring that forward just for more clarification, because I know there's some questions to that. Next update is from Parks, is the dog park is officially open. It's been great since we work right next there, seeing a lot of dogs out there using that. Seems like it's getting quite a bit of use. I believe there were 26 or 27 different dogs and owners on the opening day. A lot of them wore costumes since it was in October. Pretty great success so far, and Parks is keeping an eye on that. And those are my quick little updates. If you haven't done one to the dog park, check that one out. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to.
I just had one. Have you had any negative feedback from the dog park?
Not that I know of.
Okay, good.
I haven't heard anything on that. Just that's from what we heard from the opening, is that it was a large success, a lot of great feedback, and then from what I can tell from working there and walking outside and watching dogs play, it seems like they're having a lot of fun.
Okay,
digging some holes. So, we saw a little dog about halfway in a hole, so we let the parks department know, and so yeah, we'll just go out there and build it. So we kind of check it out every day or so, something like that.
Okay.
Because they're right there as well, so we just gotta walk in there and check it out. Make sure there's no one's gonna break it 8 holes. So far, it's been great. It's only been open for a week, but it seems we've noticed quite a bit of use so far.
Good. That's good news. Right. Any other questions?
What's the latest on the application progression for Home Forward?
They, as far as planning knows, as far as I know, their building permits were submitted for their civil building permits were submitted, and they're currently under review. So once I don't know if their grading permits have been submitted. I would assume they are, if the building permits are. Typically they're submitted at the same time, and that needs to be done prior.
I was gonna say, that's kind of step 1.
But that's not something that comes to your review, so, because that's all public works,
Right.
engineering. So I'm assuming that they submitted those at the same time. But they have submitted their two different building permits, their architectural review and their civil review. So those have come in, and they're currently under review. I believe the deadline for the first review cycle was mid last week. So I haven't checked on other departments if they finish theirs or not, or if they've approved them, or if they need to go back for corrections. So I kind of did my thing and then sent it off. But even if they go out for secondary corrections, they submit, it looks as if they should be ready to break ground before the end of the year. That's very tentative, there's no 100%, but they're on track for them.
Okay, cool.
All right, thank you very much. Any other, could I ask you to shut down?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Dakota before we move on?
This is Diane. How is the 2-hour plug-in in downtown working?
I have not heard.
Okay.
So that has, I haven't heard any sort of studies or anything that's come back. I know that's something that is on our long-term goal, is to do a full-on parking study based on that, and to see if it's working and what how the analysis of that. But that hasn't been something since we currently don't have. That was a project that our previous director was hoping to get to next year, and we had planning director at the time.
Okay.
So,
Is there enforcement involved in that 2 hours?
I believe so.
There is.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the penalty is?
I do. I have to look at the ordinance that was passed.
Okay, just so I know when I got there.
Yes.
So for 2 hours.
I do believe there is enforcement, but I'm.
Okay, because like I said before, this was something that was going to go to Town Center Committee, and then we were going to, that was something, part of the package we were going to review. Again, my concern was 2 hours isn't enough time if you want to check out all the shops and everything. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 6th. Do we want to have this meeting, or do we want to postpone it to January?
If we can get Ray in here to talk about everything that we talked about with regards to our role and mandate, I think there's enough there to fill up a meeting.
I, for one, will not be, I won't be in the country. So I will not be able to be at that meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. Will, do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I guess same sort of thing. If we can get Ray here and answer some questions, maybe get some initial groundwork done, and then you know, kind of look at some different language and some ideas on what we can put in there. I'd be okay with meeting that week or that month, but if it doesn't work out, I'm happy to postpone it till January.
All right. So do we want to say, Dakota, please issue an invitation to Ray to the December 6th meeting, and if he can attend, we will have it. If he cannot, we'll cancel. Is that agreeable?
Yep.
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
All right. All right. Adrian, you have anything you want to add tonight?
Just one little thing is, as some of you have, I've had little sidebar conversations with a few people, but one of the things that has been sort of sticking in the back of my head through this committee's discussion and also city council and every other committee I listen into is what the identity of Troutdale is and what it is turning into as time goes on. And one of the things that has frustrated me somewhat is the phrase small town feel that we all use, in the sense that very few people can actually seem to come up with what that means. And I think it would be an interesting discussion for this group to have at some point, certainly not urgently, but it would be an interesting discussion to have. And I would like to frame it in the sense of, what does it mean? What does it mean for the future of what Troutdale is? And what is that definition if you can't use the terms, or if you cannot use the words Portland and Gresham? Because one of the things I most frequently hear is that it means that we are not Portland and not Gresham, and frankly, that's not helpful when it comes to planning policy. So, I mean, that's the discussion I would like to hear at some point, because I think for the city writ large, for the purposes of land use planning and policy planning, it would be good to have a more concrete definition as to what this city is becoming. Not necessarily even what it was, what it is, but where are we going? So that's it.
All right, thank you. Shelby?
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you early. Great meeting.
Oh.
Well, nothing tonight, thank you.
Victoria?
The Gresham Outlook had a really nice article on the dog park.
Oh.
Came out today. And Merry Christmas if we don't have December.
Woodrow?
Couple things. One, I'd love to get what you've done for us in the past. It shows what's accomplished in the last so many days, weeks. What about one going the next 60, what to look for the next 2 months? I'd love to go into the grand opening and look at everybody else's dogs. So if there's something that maybe this is what's been accomplished in the last month, this is what's coming up in the next 2 months, so we know what to keep an eye out for. And it's perfectly fine to say, Woodrow, go to our website and look at this, okay? That's a great response as well. And then to Adrian, it seems to be a thing. I always just pile on whatever Adrian says. I hate to do that, but it's so easy. So it's one thing to define Troutdale, right, in relation to something. I think something is to take pieces of other places and say what we are and what we want to be. Like, we want to have the biking system of X. We want to have the transportation system of this type of city, so that we know what we are in relationship to where we're going and what we want to look like. Because, for example, Gilbert very clearly said we want to look like Plano in this respect. We want to look like Santa Fe in this respect, and they really picked out pieces of its planning and said our parks are going to look like this, and we're going to follow their model. And then from a transportation perspective, we want to look like this, and from policing perspective, we want to look like this. And then put it all together, and that was Gilbert, and they had multiple year plans to achieve it. And I think that might be an opportunity, is what do you think this is going to be? Take the best of other places and make it ours. But again, I think there's also the look and feel piece of Troutdale, the signage and the artwork and the displays and the bronze castings everywhere, and the parks. And I think that's very, very key to who we are and what we are as well. So when we think of defining Troutdale, it's how you feel about it as well in relationship to other places we've been to. And yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Diane?
Happy Thanksgiving as well. I agree with Adrian. I'm not sure if that's a town center committee. Again, what is that small town feel? Again, the old town center, years ago, we had wanted to do some talk about different zonings, like Hungry Hill and the block that's above the historic highway. And right now, currently, I think there's 2 properties for sale that looks like they could be, I think they're 3-story condos, possibly. So what, is that what that proposal is for Second Street and maybe, not sure if it's Fourth, but people are selling designs, so they're selling the lots and they're converting craftsman style homes or whatever into, looks like
Yeah.
a different multi-use, right?
I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Okay.
It doesn't ring a bell right now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's part of the small town feel that we keep the identity of the historic components that we have in downtown and the area around. And I think being on this Troutdale Historical Society, that includes the Hunger Hill. And so that conversation seems to be like a nice little town hall with all the groups, because there's the Landmarks Commission, and then there's a town center group, and then there's others. And that might be a nice forward thinking, because that, we all represent the people and our friends and others that talk in Troutdale. So that is a good conversation to have at some point, because we did that with Chris Damjan for a little bit with the town center committee. And then once he left, then, different people changed and stuff. It just, okay, what is that now? Where are we at? Where are we going? So I think that's a good discussion. With Will, we had talked about, in the group, we talked about on, I forget what month prior to this next election cycle for council, that we wanted to have an open house. And then also we were talking about starting that in January, and what that reach out would look like. And that open house would be opening the forum to those that decide they would like to be an elected, put their name in the hat for as an elected official for the city of Troutdale. So we said that was the past discussions, that we said we'd start that in January, and I think we got permission through Ray, if I'm not mistaken, our administration to proceed forward with that. I'm hoping that we still do that, because there's a lot of people that put their name in the hat. We don't know who they are. This is a good opportunity. Us, if we do pursue this as a Citizens Advisory Committee, that we get to reach out to those other neighborhoods that we don't get to see, the people from different apartment complexes and such, and do a nice reach out. So we could just engage further with the community, and hopefully make this a spark of being informed as you are a citizen within this town.
Kevin?
I'd like to run a very quick poll. How long have we been doing this First Friday art walk in Troutdale? Does anybody know?
Oh, wow.
It's been like, well, we've just been doing it for about the last, year or two, because where they block off the streets.
At least 2 years.
At least 2 years.
I think it's like.
Terrell, you're saying 2 years?
I've been to the last 2 years.
Yeah.
More than that.
Yeah,
I think it
they've
took
been
a
going.
COVID break or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So it was
but
before.
because I moved into my place just up the hill from downtown 5 years ago, and I swear it was there that first summer we were.
Oh, well.
Will, can you show us by fingers, because we can't hear you too much. How many years do you think?
I think it's probably going on for 25 years.
That's
The difference is,
It's
difference is-
27 years. 27 years we've been doing the First Friday art walk. Thank you, Will. The reason that I'm saying that has to do with the dog park. That's what brought this to mind. The dog park opening, my wife was there. She was there at the designated hour that the dog park was to open, and she said it was altogether underwhelming. There was nobody greeting anybody. There was just a sign over the thing, which is still there, dog park open. There wasn't anything, there were no balloons, there was no, and 27 dogs, as Dakota says, is a teensy fraction of how many dogs there are in the city of Troutdale. The reason I'm bringing this up is that we are the Citizens Advisory Committee. I think one of our goals should be to do a much better job of advertising to our citizens what's going on in the city of Troutdale. We've been doing a First Friday art walk for 27 years, but very few people knew about it. We only know it because the city took over 2 years ago when the Chamber of Commerce kind of dissolved. And the city said, you know, the downtown we're going to take that back as our responsibility. And they blocked the street. And that's something that the original coordinator of this used to be why can't I think of her name? Was the lady that runs the framing shop, Columbia Gallery, that's now downstairs off of the main street. Anybody help me here what her name is? Anyway, what?
Tana,
Not Tana.
Donna.
Oh, Donna, exactly. Thank you, Donna. Yeah, she ran it for 25 years trying to get the city to help her with doing things like blocking the street, like, making it providing maybe even financial assistance or whatever. She did it all by herself for 25 years. And then the city took over and they've expanded it greatly. But we're not getting the message out to the citizens of Troutdale about what's going on in Troutdale. And I think as the citizens advisor, certainly not with this dog park. That's just the most recent example. That's something we should take on.
Can I make a suggestion? You need to take that to recreation.
Hey, this is Will. Can I make a quick statement?
Yeah.
So I agree that in previous years with the art walk, it was very underwhelming. The city, through the Town Center Advisory Committee and all that, they took the money for the gas tax away from the City Chamber of Commerce to hire Marley Boxler as the community coordinator. And in my opinion, she's been doing an absolutely incredible job with it. I was there for the event, and I'm guessing there may have been a gap of time between the morning time and the event time that maybe possibly your wife was there. Because when I showed up, there was approximately 20, maybe 15 booths. They had
Cut out again.
We lost you, Will.
Did I cut out again?
Yeah.
What part did I get to?
You said there were 20 booths when you
There
were
was
there.
probably 20 booths, a DJ, they had food vendors, they had handing out Troutdale doggy bag for poop bags. They had a full walk around the entire complex. Like it was great, I thought. It's also on Facebook, it's on Instagram. I believe it was in the Champion.
Can I comment?
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I just want to second what Bill said. I was actually walking my dogs downtown that day and people were talking about it, trying to get us to go out there. And I saw it all over social media. I do just want to call out one thing that I've been taking classes with my dogs at the Oregon Humane Society, and they say that about 75% of dogs should not be going to dog parks because they're not socialized correctly. And so I think maybe some community members also didn't go to that event for those reasons. I think there's.
Okay.
Because our community members shouldn't be socialized?
That also.
That too.
Yeah, but there are a lot of reactive dogs out there. I might own one.
That it, Kevin?
Yep, that's it for me. I guess I
All right.
stand corrected.
Chris?
Let's see. I guess I'll start with Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas in case we don't meet next month. And yeah, thanks for another good meeting. And Shelley, sorry if I got a little intense when we were discussing the role of the committee and all that.
Stop that.
If we do meet though, Chris, are you gonna wear the jacket?
The suit.
Yes,
The suit.
jacket.
In person.
In person.
I'll plan to.
Will?
No, I just wanted to apologize for my internet connectivity issues and just promise to do my best to make it there in person next meeting.
We'd love to see you. In person, I mean. All right. I don't have anything to add. With respect to defining Troutdale, I'd like to point everybody to the Parks Master Plan, Town Center Plan, and the Transportation System Plan, all of which we worked on really hard. That being said, I don't think further definitions are out of order in any way. Happy Thanksgiving. It's always a joy serving with you folks. I look forward to coming here and spending time with all of you every month and really appreciate you all. If we don't meet next month, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meeting adjourned.
Just want to voice my eye.
But
I don't think we got to see the suit last year, did we?
What
was
suit are we
2 years ago.
referring to?
Yeah. I did, I think cancel or something.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
Is it like Santa
oh, I'm
Claus?
so looking forward.
Oh, Christmas. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
No, I just get a dress like Gomez, so that's all I get to do. I had a velociraptor that my kid took.
My godson has a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Nice.
It wasn't that great because it didn't blow it up.
Oh my
But
God.
Tyrannosaurus Rex, I might call it a four-way with her.
They're fun.
I got two relatives in town to help.
Okay.
And then help with the kids, too. That's what it's 75 grand.